I am April Watkins, and this is Joy in the Journey. And today I am blessed to have a wonderful lady who is becoming a great friend, Miss Gail. Gail is the wife of Amari Sall. Amari Sall has been deported to Senegal, and we are going to have a conversation discussing what life has been like for us during this time. So for Gail, I want you to get started with talking about Amari, and then I can come back and talk about Godfrey.
Amari as a whole, how I met him, just some basic
Whatever
background.
you want to share about Amari in the beginning, because we're just having a conversation.
Okay. Amari was working in the building where I was working, and I would see him in the hallway extremely late nights. And I kind of like working. I had a business partner at the time, but I kind of like working those late nights by myself. Um, and every now and again, I would open up my door and somebody was cleaning in the hallway, or I would see them with equipment or something. And I started realizing that the person who cleans, you should probably be friendly with. So I started offering him a drink, and he just said no. I offered him some food and he said no, mostly because he doesn't speak English that well, which is why he was always telling me no. So I finally started just having like a drink out, and every now and again he would be like, he would nod and he would take a Sprite.
Mm.
I would listen to music. I'd like it at a very high volume, and the building was empty. And the reason why I didn't know that he didn't speak much English is because he knew every single word of Akon, which I didn't know was from Senegal.
Oh, okay.
And so I would watch him, and I'm like, okay, so he's into Akon. And then finally I started looking through it and realized, connecting the two, after we started becoming friends. We became friends. Started asking him to help me with things, sliding a couple dollars here and there to kind of help me move equipment. I like the kitchen to be clean, so it was trying to get behind the walls or the baseboards and stuff like that, or the hood vents, putting racks and shelves together, and just offering him additional money for doing like odd end projects.
Mm.
Finally, we got to the point of hanging out and being friends, where he just was like, no, I didn't want any money for some of the stuff. And then we started doing coffee dates and going to Starbucks. So
That's so
that's how
sweet.
we started hanging out.
Mm-hmm. All right. So for that's your love story. Godfrey and I, we met at the Brave Stadium in 2019. Oh Lord, people be mad if I didn't get that date right. 2019, I was volunteering with my sorority, and he was the chef of the he was a chef at the time. I believe at the time it was the Xfinity Club. And so he had 10 non-consecutive days to make his move. And we bonded over Scrabble. He's a Scrabble aficionado. He loves Scrabble. And he said, if I can beat you at Scrabble, then we will go out on a date. And he did. I have not won a game of Scrabble because he is a Scrabble shark. And we went to, in Atlanta, they have the High Museum. They have those Friday night jazz nights. And so we went there, had an amazing time. And then went to the restaurant Chinese Buddha. It's no longer there, but that's where we went. And the rest is history. So, you and I bonded through, I believe we met at Big Bethel in Atlanta. That was our first official.
That's right.
That was our first official meeting. But we've also met through Miss Portia, and just, I want a way for us to discuss how life has been since our loved one has been deported. Godfrey was picked up September 13th, 2025. When was Amari picked up?
Amari was picked up September, I want to say 13th. Like, no, I was telling people they were doing a massive roundup. I watched them do things. So that's why I have to look back at my pictures because it was, I think it was 9, 10, 11, 12. But I'll give you an exact of
Mhm.
when they got him.
Yeah, he was picked up on a Saturday morning, for a routine traffic stop. They said he failed to
Oh,
signal,
okay.
and so he
Amari.
was arrested by Conyers Police Department. And then when it was time to go bail him out, we realized that there was a hold, and that hold was for ICE. And so he went from Conyers to Atlanta ICE hold, from Atlanta ICE hold to Stewart Detention Center, where he was from September until January, and then was deported to Jamaica. Was,
So
was
Amari was, I think you said Saturday. It was
Mhm.
Sunday. So
Oh
that the
wow!
14th,
Oh wow! Yeah.
and he was deported January.
Oh wow! Wow. See, look, we're learning these things because I don't think I knew that. I just
No,
knew
and
that they
it
were
wasn't
similar.
till till I read through your stuff that it was the same absentia. Like that was the reason.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you explain what does in absentia mean?
That means you are not present and they make a decision. You're not present in court when they call your name.
Mm-hmm.
Under no circumstances, I guess, unless you're dead or dying or in a hospital, would be the only exceptions from what I read through. That when they call your name, you're not there. Because Amari was there, but they didn't let him in because he didn't have the mask. Also, the website showed a different court. So it was him and someone else with very limited English navigating MARTA. So when they got to the courthouse, they were told they couldn't come in without the mask. So they had to go and find a mask, which there wasn't a lot of places in the vicinity to get one. So they made their way almost all the way back to the train station to try to find a mask and then came back. And so reading through his court documents, he was about 15 minutes too late for them, and they had already put the ruling in and told him to contact his attorney. And then it was that next time he went for the um immigration check-in is where they told him that it was final order was put in and he was going, at some point he was going to be deported. And this is from an asylum case. Political
Okay, because
reasons why
he
you couldn't.
came. So explain Amari's journey here to America.
Amari was in Brazil. Well, he was in Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
All of the issues that were going on, both parents die, all your family members are gone. They've all dispersed all over the world. Some, I think, Italy, I
Oh wow.
think another one. So they're all over once their parents died. So he went to Brazil to try to make a way for himself. Brazil is a very racist place from his standpoint,
Okay.
very costly. And so he was working two jobs just to be able to live,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not sustainable. I don't know how long he had been doing it for, but it wasn't sustainable. So he came back to Senegal and was going to try to regroup. And it was at that point they were dead in the middle of a bunch of political unrest. And he had no choice but to flee. And so when he came over, he came through Mexico. Arizona is where he came through. It was claimed asylum,
Okay.
and then the journey went from there.
Okay. So I'm going to show some of my ignorance. So when you're saying he came over, so at that point, would he be considered illegal, or
Yes. Well,
how does that work?
when you're going to use asylum, um it's not like illegal
Okay.
because you're claiming asylum.
Okay.
So at that point, had he just had his regular court date, he would just be paying annual fee of $100.
Okay.
He'd have
And
been able to
that
get a driver's
$100 is for the
license.
asylum.
Yeah, he'd have been able to get a driver's license and pretty much had a normal life.
Okay. All right. So, and the asylum was because of the unrest that was happening in
Exactly. Through
Senegal
the
and
political parties. Um, I think that lasted maybe about 2 years.
oh wow. So what year did he come here?
He came in 2022.
Okay. All right. All right. So Godfrey came in the 1970s and he was 15 years old when he came to this country and joined the military. He was in the military in the 1980s during Operation Fury. Raised a family, six beautiful children, three grandchildren now. And in 2014, he missed the immigration hearing. He had a nonviolent domestic dispute with his ex-wife, and he bounced the check. And because of those two things, I think those are things that are technically ruled, deportable. But he came here as a permanent resident. And so when he missed that court date in 2014, he did not know about that court date. The information was sent to the wrong address. Our attorney found out that there's definitely evidence that it was sent to the wrong address. And once he missed that court date, it was a wrap.
Yeah.
But he didn't know. And so as he and I met in 2019, I'm like, hey, what are we doing? We're engaged. We're going to get married. And so we are trying to get the green card back because he had lost it as well. And that is where we begin to discover these issues. And so in September, especially when we have this new president, it just became more of let's, pay more attention. And you don't really think it's going to happen, but it is in the back of your mind. And then it occurred. I was completely caught off guard, and as was he. But he also felt like, hey, I'm a vet.
I serve this country.
I serve this country, and not to say that it should afford me any, like special privileges.
Why wouldn't it? But why wouldn't it? Especially
Because I don't know.
It doesn't, this one does, it completely blows my mind that once you've put service into this country that our own president has fled from and numerous occasions, that once you put time in, that you fought for the country. That's way more than what other Americans have even done. So in my mind, that should automatically, after you have done service, it should have automatically been a direct pathway to being a citizen.
And you know what? Even if it was, those are questions for him, because not everyone, if you think that you may have to give up your citizenship, everyone doesn't want to do that. And I'm a believer that you're coming here to better your life, to better your family's life. And so with that being said, if you want to live your life here as a permanent resident and contribute, raise your family, all of that, you don't necessarily need to become an American citizen unless it's really something that you want to do. So once that occurred, it's just been, we're not gonna cry. I just want to make sure we're real clear.
I mean, I already have a lump in my throat, and it's hard to think about. Amari fled from problems, and while Amari was here, filed taxes, paid taxes, and had started working on assimilating into American lifestyle. So doesn't have any kind of background, wasn't bothering anyone, didn't do anything. And so to me, I still don't see. And then once you marry an American citizen, there's also supposed to be a legal pathway with that. So I still am just a little confused on all of this because I didn't have any um background like
Hmm.
in legal aspects of it, and no training certainly in immigration law.
Right.
So
And everyone's case is different. And we've learned that. Everyone's case is different. Um, what so Godfrey was at Stewart Detention Center and
how long was he there?
from September
Oh, to
until
January.
January. Yeah, but then he was transferred to Richwood in Louisiana for those
Oh,
2 weeks before he was sent to Jamaica. So what about Amari?
Amari was his journey started at Rice Street. From Rice Street, I
Well,
think he went.
what's Rice Street? Because I
Right
don't know.
is a jail,
Okay. So
and
that's
he
not
went,
the ICE detention center that's
which is
in
what I
Atlanta.
thought. Yeah, instead, Rice Street is the actual prison. And
Oh,
then he went and was asked about did he want to self deport. The answer was no. He was then transferred to what I believe was a bigger prison system on Moreland Avenue. From there, he was then transferred to Folkestone, Georgia,
okay.
at
Where is that?
the D Ray Detention Center.
Okay, but where's Folkestone?
Folkestone's Georgia, and it's right near, it's like 45. Well, I know this because I was doing the journey. It's 45 minutes away from Jacksonville, Florida. So it's right by near Savannah, Brunswick,
Okay.
something along those lines.
Okay.
It's pretty clear like the whole city is probably an employee because there's three different sections of the Folkestone detention center. Amari was placed on minimum security for the obvious reasons. He didn't have anything. There's no history.
Mm-hmm.
So he was there from September to January. And then from in January he was transferred. Well, he went to Jacksonville, but I don't know if it was holding or just the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And then from Jacksonville, he went to Louisiana, but it wasn't a regular detention center. I forgot the name of it. We ended up having like a phone calls to the facility because they wouldn't confirm where he was. He wasn't in the ICE system for
Mm-hmm.
days. And
Mm-hmm.
so it ended up being, I call a phone blitz, I think. There was calls from California, there was called Colorado, Florida, because when we were calling from Georgia, they were just clicking it off. But
Mm-hmm.
when they started calling New York, North Carolina, I had a lot of people show up for me.
Oh, that's
Friends telling another friend, passing on the phone number, and they blew the phone up and finally started giving information about Amari. He didn't get put into the computer system, but I at least confirmed that he was there at the facility in Louisiana, but it wasn't a place that even had food. So it's probably similar to like the holding center here in Atlanta. There's no food, no showers, no nothing. So they had actually beaten on Amari before they transferred him. Amari, they attempted one more time before he left from Folkestone to get him to do the self-deporting, and he said no. And he was beaten on. He was jumped. Initially, there was five of them, and then it ended up being 10 beating on him. And he was
these are
hovering like this.
guards or these were
They're
just
guards. Absolutely. There were some of them. There was, I think he maybe described it as five of them were guards from the facility, and then the outside ICE people that had came to do the transport. So he was left in nothing to eat that day, left in the clothes that were bloody, put back into the cell that they actually told me he wasn't even at the facility anymore. He really was there, so they lied. And then he stayed there for the next 2 or 3 days. And again, with nothing to eat, no shower, no access to a phone. And then transferred to Louisiana, still in the same dirty, bloody clothes and hadn't had anything to eat for at that point for at least 3 days. He was finally able to make a phone call when somebody came by. Like Amari's nickname was the one that didn't talk and didn't eat. Like like when one of the officers would come to the window, they'd ask you who you're here to see. No one knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, they only took notice because there's not very many American Black people that were coming down to the detention center. So I would say out of the 6 months, nearly 6 months of coming to visit, I only saw one other person that was Black. And I don't know if they were American at all,
Oh,
but it was
wow.
just at least another Black person. And so at that point, they started to recognize, I mean, I'm a big Black girl and I'm not very shy. So they started to, know who it was. They would see me. I would always exchange pleasantries, but when we got inside, I could see they were trying to figure out who I was here to see. So they started taking note of him at that point, and I had a couple of them walk by, and they were like, "Oh, you have a great wife." You know what I'm saying? She's always here. And sometimes I can't say all of them were horrible to him because they would sometimes ask him something when they have the whole section get on lockdown and you can't make a phone call. They won't tell you what's the status of your loved one.
Mm-hmm.
That was several times that happened. I would call and call and call and call, and then I would call different shifts. And I would sometimes, every now and again, I would get someone with enough decency to be like, yeah, he's here. The unit's on lock. I want to know because I was calling so much. I think one person said they had logged 96 calls and they were like, that's enough. Like you've already kidnapped him from the front of the house. You've already not, I don't know where he's at. You don't put him in the computer system. I can't trust anything you say. So
Right.
I need to know where my husband's at.
Right.
Like, sorry if I'm bothering you, but if you had just told me that, I wouldn't have called the other 95 times.
Right.
But I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna stop. I'm not gonna let up off your neck. I need to know where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get someone and they recognize my voice, and occasionally I would see them at the desk and they would say, like one time I couldn't get down there, that I was running out of time. One, I kept calling, calling, calling. They were going to make an exception to let me see him, but they were giving me a cutoff point if I could make it by then. So again, I won't badmouth the whole facility, but his nickname was one that didn't eat and one that didn't talk.
So you traveled from, let me make sure I'm clear. You traveled from Atlanta to Savannah weekly, or how
Every
often?
weekend. I've only missed 2 weekends, but I made up for it by you're allowed, there's only you Saturday and Sunday,
Right.
1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I would try to make sure I was at least one. We have a restaurant, so I would try to make sure I was there at least I would try to be there on the Sundays.
Okay.
But let's suppose like that time they put it on lock, I called to confirm. They said nobody's getting visitors. So don't come, don't come, don't come. Only for him to call me and say, everybody's family's here. You're the only one that's not here. Like, well, from the regular people that
Right.
were getting, you know what I'm saying? You would see the
Mhm.
other family members. Everyone, I'd say 99% was Hispanic. And so outside of the facility, they had all formed like a bond. They would tell each other what was happening with each other's cases. Um, they would chat amongst each other and exchange numbers. And I was always like not a member of the cool kids. So I don't really speak Spanish, can
Mhm.
try to understand key bits of stuff,
Mhm.
mainly food related words, but I understood that I was an outsider. And so we would stand in line. They'd have you in line for 4 or 5 hours. If you had to get out of line, you missed your spot. If you had to go to the bathroom, you had to go up the road to the gas station, even though they had two bathrooms right there. Then that would make you miss your visit time. So then they had two spots if you got there for the morning one. And then if you missed that, you could get back in line and shoot for the next one that was like a 3 hours later. And then they always were making a decision that the 1 hour visit often was 20 minutes. So I tried not to miss it, but if I did miss something, which was 2 times, then I would surprise him and be there Saturday and Sunday the following weekend, because I said, not only do I need them to understand that someone's got their eye on him and he is
Mhm.
my loved one,
Mhm.
but if we have to open up documentation, because it was always a question of the validity of my marriage, like he doesn't speak that much English. How do you guys communicate? Is this a real marriage? I wanted to make sure you understood from the nearly $1,000 worth of the calls that you have to pay for. And
Right.
I got copies of all my phone logs so you could see we had 3 times a day we communicated. So
Mhm.
that way I knew if they moved you a morning, a midday, and an evening. So that way I know if they've moved you. And if I didn't hear from you a certain time, I could calculate about the time that I think
Mhm.
that they have moved you. So tried to be strategic. And then
Mhm.
coming to visit, I made sure that if that was also documented and signed in so that you could see that this is very much a real marriage. It's a 6.5 hour trip one way. This is a real marriage.
Mhm. Wow. I didn't know Folkestone was doing like that. I thought Stewart was bad.
No,
But
but what I heard from Stuart is that you can't actually touch them
no,
and they're
you
behind
cannot.
the glass.
No, you cannot. So at Folkestone, you could at least.
Yeah, you sit at a table and you're
Okay.
allowed an initial hug. You
Mhm.
cannot, I think a kiss, not like a tongue kiss or whatever it is,
Was it
but
mixed? Meaning, like, was it men and women, or
no, that was all men.
oh, Folkestone is all men?
Yeah, Stewart is a mix.
Yes, Stewart
Oh,
has men.
oh. But
So
also there was 3 buildings at in Folkestone.
okay,
The D-Ray had 3, so I'm pretty sure he was just at the men's one.
okay. Well, I just know that at Stewart, you had, let's say, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. was male visiting, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then Tuesday and Thursday, it was from 12 to 4 or whatever time. But no, you could not touch. And so it's very, that was traumatic in and of itself, because you're like, they're not criminals. He's not a
They're not
criminal.
prisoners, and that's what they kept
We should
telling
be
me.
able
Holding
to
self, holding
teach
self.
a person. And just, you walk in there and you got to make sure your attire is right, because they can deny you for your attire. You can't take anything in there, not even your car keys. You got to lock everything away. And so I'm like, you have to lock everything away, but you can't touch your loved one. You
So why am
can't
I locking my stuff up? What's the
you
point?
can't sneak anything in there. And it was only for 5 people, 5 families. Okay, so
What?
5 families, right? 5 families at a time
They
for
did
one.
10, and then they switched it to 9.
So, and then if a phone was down, then it was 4, and you didn't know that. And it's first come, first serve. So, like for you, so Godfrey's daughter and I think we visited. We didn't go every weekend, but we at least went twice a month. And we first it was we would go on we would go if we had a day off. So therefore it would be an afternoon visit. But then that took up, the whole day, because it's a
Okay.
2 hour there. You gotta wait, and then you're getting back late. We didn't really do the weekend because the weekend was very crowded. We did a
Absolutely.
weekend one time, and I was like, oh, we pulled up, the parking lot looked like it was empty. I said, oh, we're good. Walked up in there. It was a 7 hour wait. I was like, what? It was like people came in, signed their name, and
And
left, and then they'll come back. I said, what? And so, like you said, the town of Stewart, or Lumpkin, Georgia, I apologize, is the it's the detention center.
That's it.
And you're walking in there and you're seeing people that look like you, and you got to deal with your own emotions because they can deny you at any time. They can, if they want to be rude, they're
It's a
rude,
power
and
trip. Yeah.
you have to suck it up. And to see the families, to see these young kids coming to visit their
Babies.
friends, was very hard.
They can't put their
God
babies in their lap.
he wasn't considered low custody. They put him in,
What?
he was in an orange jumpsuit, and
Are
so the
you
color made a
serious?
difference. Yes.
Yeah, highs and lows. He
Huh?
was that's they called them highs and lows.
Yeah.
So he was
So
in
even with
highs.
where um, he was supposed to be segregated from I'm gonna put it in quotes, the lower custody detainees. So that has been, that part challenging, that part traumatic, that part for me, um just not knowing what to do. And so, like you, we had our own, like, I kept the phone lines open. Whenever you're able to call, because you need to have that lifeline. you
Yeah,
know
Amari
and
was scared.
mhm,
And I could tell he was scared. And he doesn't speak English. Like he does bits of it, but not enough for when someone's trying to relay things to you.
mhm,
So he was definitely isolated. He speaks Portuguese, which is little fragments of, to me, bits of Spanish. So he was able to communicate with the Spanish speaking individuals in there to some degree, but not really with any of the guards. So that's why I was really worried about it and wanted to go see him, because there was no one else that could come. Anyone else that could go would potentially risk being held.
yeah. And as you said, like, it was predominantly Hispanic. And
That's it.
so
Stewart the same
at
way?
Stewart, huh?
Stewart, I didn't know that. Stewart was the same way. It was all predominantly
Oh,
Hispanic.
oh yeah, predominantly Hispanic. And but where he was in a pod, so he was in an overcrowded pod. I think he told me there was like 80, maybe 80 people in that pod. And then you had another section where you could have had your own cell that you shared with someone. So yeah, so you had
Amari
that.
was in that. Amari was in, it was two people to a cell.
Okay, no, he had the
Dirty water, the
whole room.
yeah,
And so
dirty water.
they built their own bond. And but I made sure to keep those the lines of communication open. So call me in the morning, when you wake up, or when you think I'm awake, because he would wake up very early. And then when I
Right there.
after work at night, so that we would have these consistent phone calls, and I would be able to tell, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Um, because then you learn they have to become a different person in there for survival.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with all of that emotion. You're thinking, maybe I'm going to leave, maybe I'm not, what's going on, I'm not signing any papers. And so those
And it's
six
the uncertainty, right? Because you don't know when they're going to send you or whatever. They don't communicate anything.
those 6 months for me were full of pins and needles every day, just full of pins and needles. And when he caught a cold, I think he caught the flu in maybe like November, because all they're doing is coughing. There's no hand sanitizer, no mask. You're around all these people.
Mold,
And like
funk,
when he
dirt,
first got
dirty
there, for
water.
the first 12 days, he slept on the floor. They didn't even give him a bed. And I remember he was talking about, while he was sleeping, how cold the place was, cold, and how he would hear the men hacking, like a hacking cough. And then he became that man with the hacking cough. and how you got to go to, you got to put these things in place to, you can't just go to the doctor. You got to put it on the tablet and tell them this. And if the tablet's not working, you got to figure it out. You got to put a little slip in. And then are they believing that you are as sick as you are? So, that time period was very hard. It was very, very, it was very hard to hear him. And I was the one that was hearing his voice every single day. So if they did a lockdown and I'm like, well, wait a minute now, I ain't heard from you. What's going on? I'm gonna have to wait. One time they took away his phone privileges, so we didn't speak for a few days. Yeah, it's that not knowing. When they moved him to Stewart, they removed his name from the system. You didn't know what was going on. When they removed him from Stewart to Louisiana, that was on Martin Luther King holiday. We were visiting, we were heading to visit. And every time we would go to visit, he would call us, talk us in, and he didn't call. He didn't call that morning to wake me up because he would be excited. He didn't call. We're driving. There's no phone call. We go inside. We're getting everything ready. And I remember I went to the bathroom. I was going to the bathroom and they was like, he's no longer here. And I was like, what do you mean he's no longer here? He's no longer in our system. I said, wait, I gotta go to the bathroom so I can digest what it is that you're telling me. Yeah, they just moved him. And the security officer's like, well, we don't know where he's going. And I'm saying, like, what do you mean? Like, we really just spoke to him. I remember the woman telling me, oh, well, he knew that he was going to be moved. And I said, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't, because he would have fucking told me. Yeah.
No, he didn't. I said, because if he knew that he was leaving, he would have called me.
And he wouldn't have had you drive those many hours for no reason.
Exactly. And then come to find out, he had been assaulted that day, and they had put him in segregation. And so when he found out that he was being moved, he asked them repeatedly, can I make a phone call? Because he knew that we were coming. He knew that we were coming. So like, can I call? Can I call? Can I call? And it was like, no. And
I
so
talked to Amari at 7 that morning. And then when we finally get in there, then you tell me he's not there. I had just talked to him. They spend their time lying.
So yeah, that, and so then like it was a gut punch for his daughter and I, Chrissy. It was a gut punch. Like, I'm stuck. Where are you going? Like, and then you gotta wait. So it has been a journey, and we set up a GoFundMe. So for this portion of our conversation, we're just going to talk about what life was like from that moment and of them being detained. And then we'll do another one where we're talking about where we stand now. But I know for you had 2 businesses and now you're down to 1. So tell us more about that.
The one business was thriving, and we had started expanding. That we were in Fulton County, near the AU Center, inside of a ghost kitchen / cloud kitchen. The format being, you make the food, you put it in a cubby, and then they use a code to access the food and take it.
Oh,
I had great success at that for 3 years, and started using some of the residuals from it to then open up a second location. We had found one that had a spot to sit down. They had another ghost kitchen all over and out that direction. But I had found out from the person who was my next door neighbor that that was the move. They had chose to take a spot where it's still no sit down over the counter, but I had said I wanted to see what that was like on a smaller scale of wanting people to be able to get your food hot and fresh.
Hmm.
So the especially the type of food, mine Mexican, Tex-Mex, queso, nachos, you want to kind of eat that fresh. Not to say
Hmm.
that it wasn't good to travel. I started offering deconstructed and stuff on the side, but to be able to taste it fresh and have a seat, and the ideas I had about some of the activities and things that we could do in the space, um, made me realize that's what I really wanted. And so as I started taking Amari there, showing him around, he got on board.
Okay.
And so the first one on the West End, I'd have to say was like my own, I guess. But then we got married. So this one, and we're not having any children together. So this second one became what I'd like to associate as almost like our child. Like this one, we decided on paint and stools and where we're going to put shelving and which equipment would go in and what we were going to do, what menus we were going to try. It's called the food dispensary because it's the same concept of different foods you could get out of there, but it's no longer you have to go to a cubby to get it. So at any given moment, you could walk in and you could get something off the lettuce toss your salad menu, which is our wraps and salads and some healthier options.
Hmm.
Or our Southwest Munchies, which is more of the over the top loaded fat ass burrito, is the main burrito, the big bag burrito. So you could get more of your munchie items. There's a bunch of different ones, a burrito bowl brand, a drink brand, but trying to just bring it all into one building that you could come in and it's been compared to like a cheesecake factory where you
Okay.
can get so many different things.
It's a very
Um,
cute restaurant. I've been there.
that was
Uh, Where
nice.
is it located? Where is it located, Gail?
It is located in the shopping center called Covington Place, off of Covington Highway 4108, and it's Suite 700.
Right off of
Unfortunately, through
285.
all right off of 285 and Covington Highway, and unfortunately, because all the money that was spent with months and months of paying rent and not being able to open, along with trying to do different documents to try to keep Amari here, that blew our sign budget. So we are the only one in the shopping center that doesn't have a sign, and that's also not good for business to not have a sign. So put some big stickers on the windows for two of our brands. One is a dessert brand called Scrump. We started with just two brands that we launched. The
Okay.
dessert one called Scrumps, and then the Tex Mex, which is Southwest Munchies, because that was our anchor store at the West End. So as we're starting to try to do more things, the second dessert brand, Best Damn Cheesecake, um, and the Sierra Vista Burrito Bowls and ATL Fry Club. So there was different ones that we were trying to incorporate, and they'll rotate in Italian food. The pizza ovens are there. We're experimenting to try to get that up and going.
Okay.
Um, so I lost the one on the West End. I didn't have the opportunity to make a decision whether we were going to be able to be open or not. I really had to make a decision between which one I could keep. And I thought keeping the one that has the sit down option, especially when I lost my housing because you just took my husband. So I can't pay for everything. My landlords were gracious enough to help me to exit without it being a hot mess. In fact, I had lived there for maybe 3 years. No problems. My first year, I gave them I had money then. I gave them a whole year. That's how we started the
Nice.
relationship, a whole year. And then afterward, I did month to month, but I was never late in the 3 years I lived there.
Hmm.
Never a complaint, never a noise, never any issues. I ended up after we got married, Amari who's Muslim, has certain beliefs. So he moved in afterward, and we contacted ICE for the address change and put him on the lease and everything else. And that was how we did our last year there. And after that, it was time for the lease to be renewed. I'd signed paperwork, blah, 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 blah. So they helped me get out of it. And I didn't have a place to live anymore on the West End. So I am now almost 50 back at mom's house. Grateful for the fact that I have a landing spot, but it's also a bit of a shame and embarrassment to feel a feeling of failure that you're this age rewinding. And so I made a decision, let's try to go full steam with this one in Decatur because it is close to where I have family support.
Okay.
And we can book it out. We've done parties and catering, and it's a bigger space, so it allows us to be able to do more things.
Okay. And you guys are on social media, Instagram, I think it's Southwest Munchies.
Southwest Munchies. The building is called the Food Dispensary, but I went with Southwest Munchies as because that brand was already built or established.
Mhm.
You'll see online, you'll see Scrumped and you'll see Southwest Munchies more so.
Okay.
So
Was Amari able to see the restaurant to where you have it now, or was he taken before then?
he picked the stools out. It was such a hard time with permits. It was almost a 7-month period of trying to get all my permits and paying everything that he kind of got upset towards the end and was like, if you can't get this permit, then we're going to cut it off. We can't keep
Mhm.
putting money for this. And he made a deal with me. It was like, if you could get the permit, I'll go get all the stools for the restaurant and the tables. We had went, I believe it was that Friday or Thursday before he got taken that Sunday. Went to the store and we looked at stools and he looked and there was one particular style. He sat in it, tried it out, and they had 12 of them. And he just gave him the card and said, we're going to get these. So he never got to see them actually in the restaurant. He didn't get to see it painted. He has seen it through WhatsApp and
Mhm.
pictures, but he
Mhm.
never got to sit in the stool and he's never got to see the shelving with stuff on it that he installed. And he never got to eat anything here. So I'd like to say yet.
Yes, because there is a pathway.
He has, just as your
Godfrey was,
husband, they have open cases.
yeah, they both have open cases. Before Godfrey was taken, I remember, I don't even, it might have been earlier in the week. Since I'm in school, he would say, let's go get some ice cream just to get my mind back. And we were on Covington Square and just sitting, eating our ice cream and enjoying. And I remember seeing this Hispanic family, mother, father, and their children just playing, just, enjoying the day. They had gone and got ice cream. And in my mind, I was like, this is so terrible that at any given point in time, their lives can be upended. And lo and behold, however many days later, it was our life that was upended. But that just stood out to me because I remember we were just sitting there, we were just talking and just enjoying the day, people watching. And I just remember that family. And I was like, this detention, this harshness, this, people just living their everyday lives and going about their business. And, someone can just come in and upend everything. And we are now left picking up the pieces. So your business, you had two businesses, now you're down to one. And you also have to look out for him in Senegal. For Godfrey and I, upended, dealing with the bills and everything, and being able to assist him in Jamaica. Um, and it's only, we know what we're experiencing. It's we're grieving the living. We are in a new unwelcome normal. And I just really want people to understand how challenging it is. Like you stated earlier, the phone calls. Girl, we spend over 2,000.
Yeah, I'm probably putting it very lightly because
Yes.
it was 6 months of 3 times a day. I think I started to realize the financial aspects of it. So sometimes it was just a hi, you okay? You good? You eat something? Because he's again starving himself. Can you please eat something, even if it's a piece of bread? Pan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Peace.
But
Come
you also
pan.
have the phone line open for when he's having a moment,
Yeah.
and you want to,
Um,
and
the
he wants to
video.
have access.
Yeah, the video.
Mm-hmm.
We spent quite a bit of time because we did start off as friends to some degree. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was just spending his time flirting. But it was a friendship to start with, and so it was hard from that aspect of it to see your friend suffering and is suffering. Like you're watching them. He lost 40 pounds. So you're watching
Mm-hmm.
him wither away. He's starving himself at this point. He's questioning life. Not going to kill himself, but he's
But just
questioning just
questioning.
what's my life like, and
Mhm.
was insecure with knowing like would I stick around through all of this?
Right.
Like what's going to be your breaking point? Because I always say Amari went hard for me. When we work together, there's days I don't feel good. He'd just be like, stay home, lay in the bed. So I started to get spoiled by like sometimes I'd be able just to do admin stuff. And I started doing less and stuff, less cooking. Maybe I might slide in, wash up all the dishes or something. But Amari's very disciplined in a structure of the days we're cooking, the production days, how things are going to go, where your shoes go, yin and yang. Whereas I'm very, uh, uh, so opposites attract in this particular
Mm-hmm.
case.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as structured as I should be. Time management issues and I'd like to call it mental health gets a little shaky and my world gets disruptive where he is into his religion of Muslim. And so he'll turn to his prayer and different things of his life um, that caused him not to be as worrisome. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just a feeling of comfort, a feeling of
Mm-hmm.
feeling safe. Not that we got along 100% of the time,
Well, I
but
mean, it's a
most of the
relationship.
time, but most of the time it was a safe haven. We were sleeping when they got him on a Sunday, which they said they don't work on Sundays. And the ankle monitor went off on a Sunday while we're sleeping. And so it was just the thought of all of this that goes on every day to realize your schedule of where you go get ice cream and your routine is now thrown off. That was mine where if we go to work together. So that was, I had started, I wouldn't say isolate, but we just started becoming like one person bonding. Like
Right.
that's what I'm talking to. That's if you want to call it pillow talk or, but that's also on our way to work together. We're going grocery shopping for the business together. We're going to different functions. If my family did stuff together, we're going together. And so it became where you saw Gail, you saw Amari, vice versa. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
when you took them on a Sunday, it was in the morning. By Sunday afternoon, I'm just calling, trying to find where you even have him at, and I don't know. And my sister came over to spend the night. I wasn't, not that I can't be by myself, but it was still just hard to swallow. You just
Yeah.
took him.
Yeah.
You just took him just like that. It was nothing for y'all to come and take him. And they ask you questions about is it going to cause a hardship? This is the government filling out documents. Is it going to cause you a hardship?
He was helping my mom and my sister. My mom is older, has a lot of health problems. My sister was retired for disability from being a customs CBP officer. She was injured on the job helping y'all do your jobs. So again, I thought to myself, if he's a caregiver for a person that was working for y'all, I get confused. I get confused on all of this. So I go off on a tangent, but it's hard because your life isn't the same. It isn't even just
Yeah.
I'm living in my mom's house. I'm glad because now I can take him to appointments and I can help and I have a place to live. But it's just the whole structure of business, the routines, the way of life. I often don't feel even getting out of bed. I
Mm-hmm.
often don't, haven't had a paycheck or any residuals from the business that I could use in over 6 months. Like I don't have anything. I'm getting phone calls from bills and I don't have it. It's not in my account. I don't have it. I'm relying on family members that are I'm I'm on the verge. May I think is going to be their last month of being able to help me because they've been doing it for 6 months already. And so after that, it's either I do better and things get better, or I no longer have a business either. The second one. So I've been pushing and pushing and pushing. Some days my heart's not in it without him. I mean, I had my business before him, but I had only started to adapt only knowing it with him because we did
Right.
everything together.
Everything
So
together.
it's difficult sometimes to walk through the doors because I know he's not there, or I sit in the stool and I stare at it because he picked it. You know, just sometimes there's things that go on that I know wouldn't be going on, certain things. And if he were there, it'd be more structured, more disciplined, it'd be running smoother. So I have to sometimes realize, like, yeah, y'all, y- you messed my life up, and I am an American. So I don't think I understand was the intent to screw my life up, the American person that was here, that I'm also lost because you have now completely changed the course of how my life is. And I think that
You make me cry,
people,
Gail.
right, it's other Americans. I don't, aside from you, I don't have anybody in my life that would understand. I have people that are sometimes compassionate, but also it was a shame and embarrassment when he was gone that people would ask me, and I would say he went to Africa. And when people go to Africa, they usually stay several months. Not like me, I go and I can only stay for like 3 days, but they go and they travel. And he hadn't been there. So I was lying and saying he was on vacation because I was ashamed for them to realize like he'd been arrested and was basically in jail for someone who is walking off to go pray, or you know what I'm saying, at work. And it was just a lot of shame with that. And so as I started unraveling is when I started telling people like what was happening, but to see people pull away still because they think he's illegal or they think he did something wrong. And so just started losing the little bit of relationships with people. They started pulling away. I don't really get invited to things. I spent a lot of time maybe just laying in my bed. I see Sometimes I see people doing things and I realize they didn't invite me because either A, I don't have money, or because maybe I'm a Debbie Downer, or because I'm associated with someone who has been deported. So you start to not have the same relationships, and maybe I isolate myself um, because it hurts.
It hurts. It hurts a lot. It
I'm sorry.
no, you got me because it does hurt a lot. Um
And people don't understand it.
People don't
He's not
understand,
dead. Yeah, he's not dead, but it
and
feels
he's
like
not.
it.
Um, and
He's laying on people's floor. You make $180 a month if you can even get a job, and that's working 6 days a week, 9-hour shifts. So $185 a month. And again, that's even if you could get one. And there aren't any options. When I went to visit and I'm seeing children with no socks and shoes, I'm like, we're taking a bath with a bucket. And I'm so American. So American. But just eating a piece of bread as coffee and pretending like I'm just cool. Like it's okay. But realizing like that's his life now. Whereas he'd get up and we were having steak and eggs, right? Like taking a shower, and the only problem is maybe the water's too hot. Now you're putting water in a kettle to warm up some water to put in a bucket so that you can take a shower from a bucket. And it's still to use the bathroom, it's embarrassing because you don't want to defecate because his toilet doesn't flush. So you really shouldn't even be brushing your teeth with the water that comes out the faucet, or you might not feel good later. Little simple things like, hey, let's go find a store so my American ass can have some jam with his bread because I don't know what it's like just to eat bread and feel like that's okay. Um, just also him having to deal with the shame that's surrounded by, hey, you got kicked out of this country. Um, Also, he left for political reasons. So you never see Amari posting where he's at. He still is not necessarily 100% safe. So he is at different places, um, not having any money, and then also him being isolated and him having friends here in America that once he got deported abandoned him. And I have to see one of them regularly that was basically his best friend that decided now that he doesn't answer phone calls, is unavailable, too busy. But I remember when Amari was here and took you everywhere, bought you stuff, invited you to our family events. And when he got into a jam, he thought he could rely on you even just to have someone to call. And that's when they start to abandon you. He had somebody in New York that would send money for him to put on his books. Would occasionally help so that if I was going to stay for the weekend, we'll be able to get a hotel. But I, so I roughed it. I laid on the floor mat. I wanted to show him, like, when you say you were with somebody, I stand with you. He did when my business was bad on the West End. Amari could have went and got a regular job. He could have left me. He didn't have to do that. He had a whole regular job. Amari worked his regular job, then came and worked with me for 2 years, 7 days a week, with not a day off. Sores in his jaw, massive headaches. He never let me down. Be mad at me and be in the kitchen not talking to me, but he came and he never let me down. So I intend not to do the same. I intend, when I made a commitment to be married, we're married. I'm coming down there, coming to visit in a detention center. I'm trying to come to Africa. I'm trying to keep a marriage together. And not only that, keep my word to a person that kept their word to me. And that's the fight that I can deal with. Like I can deal with sleeping in a bed at my mom's house. I can deal with going into the kitchen and getting water from let me, so sorry. Getting water from the water cooler, like getting a bottle of water. Um, I could deal. I could deal that we're not hand washing clothes. It's a washing machine. So as I wipe my face with this, I have the privilege to go put it in the washing machine.
Right.
Um, just little things. Like right now, I'm supposed to go, and initially, the person that he floats between different places maybe was like, maybe I couldn't come, or maybe I can't, or maybe it's cramping their style to be able to, because this is just an open room. This isn't a house. I'm in an open room. There's no facility for you to cook. There's little pots, and sometimes you go to a balcony. There's a bathroom, but again, there's sometimes throughout the course of the day that there's no water coming out. So, and you're laying on a floor mat that is like this thick, and because it's probably old as hell, that it's got different spots where someone's laid it. So you're basically laying on the ground. And
Mhm.
I am morbidly obese. So getting all of this weight onto it and putting pressure on it is so difficult to even sleep. And it's like you don't want to be a whining baby, but
Mhm.
it's just, it's not comfortable. And it's not something I'm excited, like, yeah, let me go sleep on the floor. But I want to
No.
see it. And I want to be able to have him understand that my word is my bond. We gave a word to each other, that we help each other. You didn't let me down. You stuck with me when stuff was so bad, so bad for me. And I won't, I won't abandon you. So it's hard to keep a relationship going with someone. I miss a phone call. You don't know where I'm at. The Wi-Fi goes down in Africa a lot. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
times where you're calling. I'm sure in Jamaica it's the same thing. You don't, there's no connection, or it's very blurred for your screen. And I would always associate this as probably the worst time of my life. The worst time of my life, when I thought it would be probably the best. I thought as I hit 50 in a hot second that I would be coming into a different life, that it
Right.
wasn't going to be one of so much struggle. Um,
Right.
and rebuilding. Instead, it's hitting ignore, or it's answering the phone to say for like the 10th time, LA Fitness, you are not important. I understand health is important. I love it. I miss the sauna. I do miss my Zumba classes. I miss my water aerobics because I was like the young, sexy one in the pool. I do miss it. I do miss it. Why lie? And it didn't even matter what swimsuit I was wearing. I was the hot young one. That all the hot, like the hot men that were in the pool in their like 90s were floating over to come like holler at me, shoot a shot. I miss that. It did make me feel good. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my God. Now you go from crying to have me cranking out.
So to have to tell him like I ain't got it, and I'm not gonna have it. Didn't have it yesterday. I didn't have it the 5 times you've already called me today. And
And but
in
they
the
go
order
keep
of
calling.
importance, yeah, in the order of
I'm like, you,
importance. So you can. I've learned real quick, like they're not supposed to continue the conversation if you use profanity. So sometimes I just might answer with the fuck and the bitch and the shit, and usually get a click, or you might catch me where I'm like, let's talk, let's real talk. Can you make notes? I ain't got it. Well, maybe if you could just send 100, the fuck is that gonna do? I don't even have the 100. And if you want me to go ask someone to give you 100, and then if I don't have it next week, the following 2 weeks payment plan, you're gonna be back calling me, and it's gonna be just like I just wasted that 100. No, I'm good.
I'm good.
Charge it to the game. You can get it. There's a whole song. You can get it in blood. No, that's a little different.
You can't. What is it? You can't squeeze water from a rock.
That's it.
Um. Yeah. Coming home is still, a challenge every day. every
Because you live
day.
in the same spot.
We live in
I,
the same spot. You at
yeah, I
least,
don't live there. I don't live there,
but
and I had stopped staying there
coming
anyway.
home and that first night that it happened, and I was just like, what do I do? And then you go into
You
a
see their
panic
stuff,
mode.
right? You see all their clothes, and
Go into a panic mode. I mean, if I didn't have to get up and go to work, well, that was a Saturday. I was numb on Sunday, but then you got to get up, go to work. And I just started a new job. I had to get up and go to work and pull myself, like will myself out of the bed. And it has I had when Godfrey would come in the house, he put his shoes on the stairs. Those shoes stayed there until I went to see him in February. I walk past them every day. And so those little things are challenging. I remember one Friday I came home, first day of spring, came home, I'm at work, you had a moment of forgetfulness. I came home, I was like, oh man, I'm excited. Rounded the corner and just got hit in my gut. I was like, oh, that's not what we're doing. It's something different. So the roller coaster of emotions. I am blessed that I do also have good family support, good friends. Godfrey has great friends that have checked in on me, like relentless, like, you're all right, you're good. My friends, you all right, you're good. But like you said, isolate. I started to isolate. I don't want to go out. I don't want to do anything, and I had to force, and I'm still forcing myself doing this. This is one of the things that I'm like, we have to have some way to get this out, to talk about it, to have other people hear about it, because it's not easy. Life is going on. And while life is going on, you're worried about your business, your livelihood, how he's doing, his mental ability, getting money, resources to him, and then you're waiting. So when people ask, well, what's the attorney say? Yes, until the Board of Immigration Appeals makes a date, but there's nothing.
for
He's there
marriage,
for the foreseeable.
3 years for marriage,
3 years.
for your marriage appointments. They're so backed up.
Dang.
That's why I was
Yeah, that's
asking
another
Ossoff,
thing.
Warnoff, and all of them to look at it and to expedite. And because Senegal was put on the list of
Oh, right.
what I now found out was a partial ban, not a full ban, but a partial. They were like, now we could do.
Well, we're going to pause right here because we're going to pick this conversation up again. And as we meet more women, we can, or men, because it's not just women, men are dealing with it as well when they lose their wife, or, we could just have these conversations and also, educate. So you can educate us about it, absentia. You can educate us about the things that you have learned, and then, also talk about how is he navigating Senegal,
It's not
how is he
right.
navigating Jamaica, because those things aren't easy. And something that I know I'm learning it's easy for us to say, oh, well, you can do this. Oh, well, you can do that. Oh, well, it's easy for us to say it, but we're not in it. We're not in that space.
No, because
We're
people keep
not,
asking me about him having a job or why he doesn't have a
right.
job or like, is he
We're
not
not in that
looking?
space. And as I continue to learn, is you're leaving a country, going back to a country, and now you're competing for what's in that country.
With
And if
people who
you've
already
been
live
gone
there.
for a long time, you have to relearn the customs. You didn't forget them, but you're now technically a visitor.
Yeah, because you're seen as an American.
You're seen as an American. So those things also play a part mentally, and your PTSD, because you got PTSD
Yeah,
from being detained.
from laying in a cell. Because I talked to Amari, and it looks like he's still in a cell. Which,
Mhm.
when I visit, we have to go out. But I could tell he had assimilated to that environment, and it's hard to try to retrain and rewire. He's very despondent. He's very, it's the no money, it's the no one else to talk to, it is the isolation.
Yeah,
So I
because you are
want
now
the
his sole source
of
you're his sole
anything.
source. Yeah, and that's challenging for you,
And I
because you
think,
also
yeah,
have to take care of your mental health. You
in a
have to take care of
restaurant
you.
and a
Mhm.
family here that I have to help support, not financially, but
Yeah,
contribute. And so
it
I
doesn't
think
matter.
sometimes he doesn't think that part through. And I don't blame him for not thinking that way, but I sometimes get frustrated too because my plate is full. My
Mm-hmm.
mind is full, and
Mm-hmm.
it sucks. Or any moment of trying to have fun, do something, it's a feeling of either guilt, or it's a feeling of, can I enjoy myself? Am I allowed to enjoy this moment?
Right. Right.
Because you're laying on the
Ooh.
floor somewhere. And so you think I'm here having a party every day, or you call and I'm watching a movie with my sister, and it looks like I'm having the time of my life, and you're laying on a floor mat. So I think I think what my mission now, what I like to dedicate my time, is to helping. If you're doing a podcast or doing that, is to try to help support this in whatever way I can, rallying other people, contributing, doing whatever it takes. What I want to do is I want to have a change made with the Homeland Security. And if it can't be changed at the level of Homeland Security, take a longer route and put bills and different things and make it change. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
there's a way that if you don't have proof that you received it, I think that there should be a change of your court date. I think if you arrive at court, they should be able to stamp something with a time and date to show that you came that day. And as long as you've come in that same day, they should still be able to hear your case that same day. I think there's a lot of things that we could do differently when you're sending out literature in languages people don't understand. Um, so I want there to be a reform. And so I'm in it for the long haul. And I think by doing all of this, it will build a stronger case to have more people support and get behind it, bring awareness to it. Um, I think showing the effect that it had on people, that from both ends, when you send someone off somewhere or when you've just now left someone with a broken home, like that's what you did. And if that
That's
was
what
what
it
your
is.
mission is, then you've achieved it. But I'd like to think that we would also think about that it costs money for you to be all this whole process. It costs way more money than if you had just let them finish out their court. Like how much money is being wasted and court times backlogged for this type of bullshit, that I think if we
Well,
can
wait
make
a
a
minute.
reform and make a change.
Even to that point. And so these are the things that we're going to talk about the next time that you and I talk, but it's all privatized. So when I looked into Core Civic, that owns Stewart Detention Center, and I
Argentino
learned
Group.
that in 1 year they made $2 billion. $2 billion. Okay. And that's you're not losing money. And when you look at, they're only giving you a snippet because they're private. So the public number, I think at the time, was $150 per person per day. So you take that, and if you have a detention center that technically is supposed to house 2,000 people, well, now you've overcrowded it. You're making that money. And you can say, yes, we're giving them 3 meals in a cot, but you're not stating what is that food like. Are you giving the people dietary assistance? Are you giving people their medicine? And then even to your point, you still have that stigma, because people are looking at you like, well, why are you here? Well, what did you do? You had to do something. You don't have to do anything. Having a nonviolent domestic dispute in a house that you lived in and bouncing a check. How many people have bounced a check before?
I don't see, unless we're talking a $20,000. I just don't see if you've repaid, or if the other person didn't pursue a case against you, then what are we even talking about? Like, why does that even? And I guess for me, in my mind, I don't have the best background. So for me, looking at things from a different perspective, a check writing is a nonviolent crime. And if you've either paid restitution or made peace with that, then that's over with. And then
And
if it was,
there should be a time limit. Like literally,
that's
there should be, if you've paid your debt to society, what are we doing?
then why is that even
Really,
being
what are you doing?
used?
We are busting up families.
And we're overlooking the
I'm not
fact that
saying
someone served for your country that you live in.
but
Like,
the government is busting up families, and people have such a negative thought about it. It's like you're leaning into something that people have, you've had these feelings. People may have thought about, immigration and what have you. But once it touches you and you're sitting there like, wait a minute, I know this person. I love this person. This is not who this person is.
and
And
the media and the
and the
government were
media,
acting were the worst of the
so
worst. So that's all people had in their mind, was that the only people they're taking, because that's what they kept repeating, was the worst of
right.
the worst. So that's automatically associated with the fact, oh, you've been taken, so you were one of the worst of the worst.
Exactly. So, all right, Miss Gail, we're gonna have this conversation again.
Right.